Firstly, thank you very much for joining. It really feels strange. We arranged this webinar at the back end of 2019, and we've seen a lot of increase in remote working. It's very topical. And of course, even in the last 2 weeks, I recorded another video about what appeared to be on the horizon with the coronavirus and how teams might be able to help. And we were talking then about maybe a few people from our office going off ill or having to self-isolate. And things have escalated even from the last week. I've had to come into the office today. I'm the only person here just to make sure we've got the bandwidth for the amount of people that are logging on for this. And it's the first time I've been here for a week because I've had to self-isolate, and then we've obviously had to shut the office down. So the world has changed, as you all know, massively. It seems every 24 hours something more dramatic happens, and it feels just really, really surreal at the moment. What we want to do today is really show you how technology can potentially help in lots of different ways. One, and primarily to keep our businesses doing whatever we can in the coming weeks, and hopefully, if it is going to be months, that's not too many, but to keep us moving, that we can continue to communicate first and foremost with our customers, first and foremost, or secondly with our staff. I think that's vitally important. We've learned a lot as a company in the last 4 or 5 days as we've become completely remote from one another, what works, what doesn't, and I'll share some of that with you today. Microsoft have also just published early hours of this morning their findings, because they've been doing this now for 2 weeks, and they've come back with some really interesting stuff that we've never really had to test in this way. We've never had to lock down as we have over the last few days, and it looks like we're going to be like this for a while, which is concerning. But hopefully we'll show how the technology can help. Hopefully we'll show some good news, and I think one of the things we're being told is we should keep spreading that positive news, and there is some good stuff we're going to show you today. And hopefully with what we're seeing in the other part of the world with the Chinese coming out the other end of this, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully with their learnings and other parts of Europe, we can accelerate and get back to some level of normality. But we're going to talk today about Microsoft Teams. I really thank you for coming. I'm imagining you guys are all joining remotely. So if this is your first time on Teams, well done, you've actually joined the call, so it's not too difficult for anybody to get on. Normally a link, a URL, some internet connection, and a laptop or a mobile device, and you can get onto the call. Hopefully my screens will start moving. What we're going to cover is a little bit different to what's on the agenda. This is what we put together originally, the modern workplace, but it's relevant, and even not more so today, why we need Teams, and we're going to go through that. We're going to demo it. Most of this hour and a half, however long it lasts, will be in the product. It's not going to be PowerPoint heavy at all. There's some things I can't show you because we're in a Teams meeting at the moment, so I can't then show you how we fire up a Teams meeting. I'll get to the point where we get as far as we can, but otherwise it'll drop the meeting I'm in to go to my new one. So I'll maybe use PowerPoint to help in a few instances, but 90% of what we're going to do today will be in the app. It's a hub, it's a workplace, and we're going to link lots of other apps that you might use in your day-to-day work life. And we're going to show you that how you can pull all that into Teams and take advantage of tools you and your staff and your customers are already very, very familiar with. We'll look at meetings, and we'll touch on something called live events as well. And we'll talk as well around video. We've called it video kills the audio call, but the idea that when we are working like this, video makes a massive difference, and we're seeing this in this week by having that face-to-face contact with people. It makes a massive difference. Then we'll have a little bit of Q&A. We might look at a few other bits and pieces as well that Teams constantly changes. Microsoft are always updating it, and there's loads of stuff that even from last week when I ran through this in my head of how I was going to update it, they've changed a few more things around meetings. So it's always changing. So we'll see how we go. The same old thinking, the same old results. We know that. And when we did this, when we started using Teams, we've been using Teams for about 2 years now, 2.5 years. It was quite revolutionary that we could do a whole bunch of stuff. We can collaborate on things remotely. We could work together as a team. And it's a new tool set. And we are finding we get massively different results positively by using Teams. And the reason that this started was, compared to 5 years ago, we're in twice as many teams. So forget what's happening right here, right now. But as our businesses have grown, we flex in and out of teams. Our roles are not as static as they used to be. We work with different areas. We might work with marketing for a bit. We might work with our sales team. We might work with the delivery team. And we might be fluid and have a little bit of time with each of those teams. So we are far more interactive in our roles. They're not as siloed. We're also working far more collaboratively. we want to work with people. We want to work in teams. It's not like the old days where I had to go up the chain of command and ask my line manager, who would then find the answer and come back to me. We actually go and work across our network and we find information wherever we can. So we want to work with people across the business who will have the answer I need right now. And I want to put that question out there, and I want to get it back in an informative way. And maybe I want to ask 10 questions about that. And I don't want to do that via email, because that's going to take a week before it gets back. And yet it would only take 5 minutes to have that in a face-to-face conversation. So we're collaborating far more. And this is all stats that have come from Microsoft. And we also have different expectations. We want to use different tools. The digital revolution or transformation, whatever you want to call it, has changed our lives on a commercial or at home. We want to use a mobile. I want to use an iPhone. I want to use a tablet. And so we want to work on all different things, all different places, at all different times. And the tool set we need to give our staff needs to be capable of doing that. And everything we're going to show you today will run on those basic rules. And at times we need to flex it. So it's not just within our organization. We want to invite other people from outside that, whether it's a customer or whether it's a supplier. But we might want to not give them full access. We might want to ring fence certain bits of information to make sure that stuff that needs to remain private within our organization or within our team can do so safely, but we can still bring other people in when they will add something to the conversation. We've all been using email for 2 decades, if not longer. And that was great. And then suddenly our email just exploded. It was hard to keep on top of it. Our inbox was just chock-a-block all the time, with a lot of the times just pointless, yes, I've read your email, Liam, type of emails. And if you sent that to 10 people in your team, that got painful to go through. And we've moved, and as we have in our private lives, started moving to apps like WhatsApp, and found how useful that is, that we can spin up a WhatsApp group very quickly. Maybe it's for our sports team we're involved with, our friendship group who we go out with and have a drink with. Whether it is work, we saw that happening, that people were creating WhatsApp groups within their teams at work. And the great thing with WhatsApp, it was quick, it was easy, it was chat-based. I could reply, I could read the conversation. If I'd been out all day, I could very quickly get up to speed what was happening. And so that type of technology and that type of ideal has been brought into Teams, and it allows us to use that chat-based ideal for the basis of the way we communicate. But Microsoft added to that, it's a hub. So not only can we have the chat, but we can bring in all our documents, our files, our spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations, you name it. It doesn't just have to be Microsoft stuff, it can be anything. And we can bring that in, we can collaborate on it quickly, easily, we can find it, and we never have to leave Teams. So we're not jumping from one application to another, forgetting where we put this, forgetting where we save that. The documents and the files, everything we create, the content is stored in one single place that we all work on, so we all know we're on the latest version of the software, or the document, sorry. And it's going to be supported, it's going to be secure. And now the way I'm going to show you, this is probably the last slide before we jump into the product, the way that we organize it, just so you can understand how teams work. You are the organization at the top. So whatever your company name is, that is you. So I'm going to go with TechMan, that's us at the top. And then if you think about how your company is structured, you normally will have one of these, organization structure or organization trees somewhere within your business that maybe lists all the different people. And Teams works on that type of format. So we've got the TechMan at the top, and then underneath we have the teams. Now that could be different departments. So we have one for sales, marketing. I'll give you some examples in a moment. And then within our team, we know that we have lots of different channels around that. So in sales, for example, we might have 4, 5, 100 different channels around different things we're doing, such as, I don't know, new business, promotional offers, new marketing activity that we're doing within the teams. And then within each of those channels, we'll have different conversations around that. So we might have 10 different conversations about different opportunities that we've got running at this moment in time in sales. And I'm sure you can think of loads of different examples of how that works within your team. You might have 10 different spreadsheets currently in your team that goes along those lines. You might have loads of different email threads that are happening in your team around that. And then you find you're part of 5 different teams, and it just becomes unmanageable. So that's the way it's structured, and you'll see when we jump into Teams how that works. But just want to give you an overview of how that works. And within the conversations, we can have files, We can have notes from meetings we've taken, or just general notes about what's going on in there. We can have different tabs where we have different apps that plug in and help us, and I'll show you those in examples. And we can connect out to other data systems or business systems, such as Dynamics, as most of you use as our customers. Okay, so let's get into the product. I'm just going to quit out of PowerPoint and just hide that away. Hopefully you can still see my screen, and what we've got on the screen is a browser. And if you've never used Teams, the reason I've gone here is I'm just going to show you, just missed my reminders. I'm just going to show you how you could find it. So if you use Office 365, then you will already, I would say 99% of the Office 365 suites, they give you Microsoft Teams. It's in the toolbox, so you're probably paying for it if you've got Office 365 already. And here it is, Microsoft Teams. You click on that and it opens up in the browser. It'll also give you the option to download the client. The client and the browser are identical to look at, so there is no difference. The only thing you have to be aware of with Teams, you do need to have internet connectivity for it to work and for you to connect with it. So there's no offline capabilities. Because it's chat-based, it has to be real time. So you need to have some internet connectivity. But as I said, you can do that on a mobile device, on an iPhone, Android, any of the major players are all, it will work on those free apps for you to download, and you just put your Office 365 credentials in and it just syncs up instantly. So it works great. Okay, so I'm going to use today the client I've got loaded up. So I'm just going to go back. You can see everybody that's joined on there, which is great. I'm going to give you a little overview. I'm just going to pop a team up here so Zach's not on there all the time. And what I'm going to show you is a basic overview of how Teams works and how it lays out. So we have across the screen, let me just make this full screen. And what we have here is, I'm going to start with the left-hand column. And this is fixed. This is a little bit like Outlook. You've got your different things. And you can see I've got my activity. So I can see at the moment there are 2 things that have happened since I last checked, which are relevant to me. So someone has either put my name in a conversation, so it alerts me to that. I can see I've got 2 instant messenger chats going, so that's the idea of like the WhatsApp chat. So someone has done a one-to-one chat with me, they're asking me something, or they've replied to a question or a message that I've sent to them. And I can see within the teams that I'm a member of, there's some activity. Okay, there's a little @ sign again where I've had a name check, so someone has done something around that. And as well as that, I can click on a calendar, I can make a phone call or a video voice call, or I can go to my files section. And we've pinned something here regarding Dynamics 365. You can ignore that for the moment. That's something we've added, and you can add loads of things to Teams, but the core fundamentals are these 6 icons down the side. And then moving across past that, I can see the teams I'm currently a member of. So I'm in the sales team, the marketing team, a management team, and so on and so forth. I also have some hidden teams down here, and that was something Microsoft introduced, I don't know, about 6 months ago. So what happens, as you're no doubt aware, if you've ever used WhatsApp, is you get added to loads and loads of teams, and before you know it, you're overwhelmed. So Microsoft, or Teams, should I say, looks at those teams that you're active in regularly, and that becomes your teams that you can see in my top level. And then teams that I'm not as active in, or I haven't had much activity with recently, it hides away for me. So I can still see there's one bit of activity in the teams I've hidden. But if I click on them, I can extend them all. And they might have been stuff that I've been working in I was a very small member of that team. Someone's added me in just so I'm aware of something, but it automatically works out. I'm not active in those, and it hides them away. And that's the idea of everything we're going to show you today, that it's trying to focus our attention on the things that are important right now. Hence, I'm getting these little alerts for me that I've got activity, I've got chat, and I've got a name check. There is a lot of stuff going on with Teams. You can lose yourself in it if you're not careful. So we want to highlight and lift up those bits that are important to us. And we use Teams for all our internal communication. Outlook now has become the way I communicate with people outside of the business. So I email my customers, I email my suppliers, general email that comes in. But within our business, we are trying to make it, and we're not there yet, but we are trying to make it 100% Teams focused. At the turn of the year, as a marketing team, we said we are only going to use Teams to communicate. And I think we've managed to do that 99%. Communication amongst ourselves now goes through Teams, and it's decluttered my inbox massively. And so it means when I do get something in my inbox in Outlook, it's normally customer relevant. It pops up. I can deal with it, or I can triage it and work out, do I need to do that now, or can it wait till I've got a bit of time? And so it really helps that issue we had of missing important emails. And so that's where Teams sits for us at this moment. It's internal communication. So what I'm going to do for you is just show, it's this idea that it's a hub. So everything is within this one area. You're not going to see me jump around. You're not going to see me go into Outlook, go into Word, go into Excel. We're going to stay predominantly within Teams. So just give you an example. I'm going to run through the main areas, as we said, of what it looks like, and give you a step of how I use it each day. And what we have here, I'm going to take you into, I'll show you the sales team because I think that's okay. So if I extend the sales team out, you can see that this was the team. And then I have these channels. So it automatically will give you a general channel. That's what it does when you create a team. And then you go and you start creating your own channels within the team. So we've got competitors' proposals. If we know we're competing against somebody, we wanted to make our proposals a bit different. So we had a team or a channel around planning that and having some discussion around it. We have a channel for if we're doing some price promotions or one of our suppliers is offering a promotion. We put all our sales meetings in here, and we've also got a social channel. So if somebody's arranging, a night out or something that's going on, that's all covered. And I can click into any of these, and I can see very quickly what's potentially happening. So I could look in the proposal, and I can see within here, I've started a conversation a long time ago now where we're doing this, and we've done some work around refreshing our proposal documentation. I've put the Word document in there, and we can see very quickly that if I click on that, the document will pop up. And I'll show you all this in action in a moment. But it gives you a general idea of how a team is laid out, how this chat-based activity takes place. And that all happens in this main area of the screen. Across the top, we've got a search area, so I can search for stuff all across my teams, and we'll show you that in action in a moment as well. Okay, so let's run through a little scenario of how we use Teams, and then we're going to create a team. So hopefully you get some education today. If you're using Teams, I'm sure you get some tips on how we work, and hopefully you'll learn something as well. So one of the areas that we span a team up specifically for, we were exhibiting at the NEC about 18 months ago now, and so before that we span up a team purely for that purpose. We didn't have lots of channels because it was fairly a small team, but you'll get the idea of how it works from a chat base. I'm going to go right to the top, and it was proposed that we go to do an event. Let's get right back there to the top of this. And what we can see here that when we eventually get there, we created a team. We added a bunch of people that were in our team. Keep zooming me down to the latest activity. Let's go right back to the top. And so we created a team, and as we can see here, Jason added a bunch of people that were going to be part of that team, and he then started sharing a couple of PDFs that the organizers of the exhibition shared with us so we could be aware of what was going on. So if I wanted to look at that, I can quite quickly click on the presentation that the organizers of the event had done. I could have a review of that. And as you can see, I haven't left Teams. I'm viewing the PDF. I can still see the conversation that was going down the side. So that chat-based thread that Jason said, a couple of presentations to share, and I can then see any comments that were put. And I can then reply to that conversation. So this looks great, and I can put that in there, and Jason gets a reply to it. So it's very easy to see, and if I want to look at the next the next PDF, I can click on that and again see whatever they were pushing in that PDF, and I can close it back down. So he shared that with the entire team, and we can then go back into our chat view. So very easily we start sharing information amongst the team, and then the story progresses. Zach starts asking us about what type of stand we want. and we have some documentation that we need to be aware of. And so there's a Word document in there, and you can see how the thread is building up. Jason is putting some costs have been put together, and I can reply to that. I can give my opinion on these things. We have some stand messaging about what do we want on the stand. We had some speaking slots. We had different people that were attendees, and we got a spreadsheet on there to see who was actually attending. We had a checklist of things we had to do before we turned up. And what we do with this, and we'll go into this in a little bit of detail, I can like things rather than always saying, yes, I've read this. I can just put a thumbs up. So Tash has put something here around the handbook, and very quickly I can just say, yeah, I've read that, I've acknowledged it, I like it. Or I might not, I might have a problem with it, and there's all the emojis that everyone is using in modern communication is there. Now that removes that whole inbox frustration I used to have of someone saying, yes, I've read it, Liam, or if they didn't ever reply to me, have they read it? Have they acknowledged it? And so this way is a very quick and easy way to do that. And I just get a little alert when someone likes something up in my activity, and we'll show you how that all works in a moment. But we started then to put some costs together. Tash was asking about some furniture, so I can see here the comments that were taking place. There were some replies. I was saying I'm happy with having a poser table, 3 stools around it, the demo stand being standing room only, the carpet colour was fine. And I can see there that back then Tash liked that comment. So again, I'm just aware she's acknowledged it. We're moving forward. Mo, from a graphics point of view, was saying he's happy with the colour of that with the rest of the stand. And then I can see that Tash has got this started. So if I've been out the office all day, I can come back, and at the end of the day, I can catch up very quickly what's gone on with the tasks that we've been working on. So I find it really useful to jump back into a conversation, find out where we're at. And then the fun starts. We started putting some ideas together. So we can see there's 14 replies. This Mo put an original stand design in some artwork, and this is where it's very useful. So I can see what we think. I can start a conversation about that if I'm not happy with something, or I can read what's been put below. And everybody had lots of feedback around that. We try to understand the size of it. So Mo put a little video together showing us how big it would be within the office. So we understood the size and scale of the stand. They mapped it out. And so people had a better idea of what it was going to be like. So there's lots of very interactive and taking a picture on a phone and sharing that, all on obviously on the device, on your mobile device. The Teams client will allow you to do that. So Mo then had done a few changes based on the feedback. We talked about having a TV on there. We talked about doing loads of different things. And we eventually approved all of that, and then unsurprisingly we came down to costings. And so Tash starts sharing with me a spreadsheet. And again, you'll notice I'm not leaving Teams. And what we can see on here is all the things that were being ordered, what we needed, artwork, the demo tables, etc., etc. And down the side of my spreadsheet, I can still see the conversation. So while I'm looking at these numbers, I can be replying to Tash and saying, hi, Tash, do we really need, I don't know, I'll say a second table. Conversation view. I haven't left Excel. It's still there. I can still look at the numbers, but while I had that thought, I can type the comment in there, and then I'll wait till whenever Tash reads that or sees it. She might acknowledge it. She might reply to it eventually. But as you can see, it's very quick and easy to stay in complete control with what's going on, and we have that overriding view all the time. I could go into Excel and I can edit it. Even though I'm in here, I can go into there and I could actually start putting some numbers within the spreadsheet, and it's going to update the spreadsheet that Tash is working on, that I'm working on while we're there. So I'll close that little spreadsheet down, and the story would carry on, as you can imagine. And we talked about hotels and all the normal things you have. But what I hope we'll just see by showing you that little story is that everything that we did was contained within this team. So when we arrived at the event, I just got my phone out of my pocket and I could go to the team, the Teams client on my phone, and I could access all this information. So I could see where we were meant to have the electrical points that the guys had told us that this was what we were having. We could see the artwork, we could see the brochures we were having, we could see the final meeting agenda for what we had to sign off for the final days and all the things we had to do. So we had extra stuff printed and all the stuff you do for any task in your business. You know the amount of conversations that take place, and they're still here today. I can go back, I can review them, I could approve them. And as you see there's my final comment I've made, even though it's 2 years too late. But do we really need a second table has now appeared in there, and Tash would look at it. But that was based on the costs. But I hope that's given you, before we dive in and look at the real way this all works, that it shows you how, by having a little story, how the teams really can work with a particular project or a particular scenario. And we're going to build a team like that with a scenario behind it. The other thing I'll mention while I'm here is you'll notice every time someone is mentioned here, I can see information about them. So if you work in a big organization or a small organization, if people are on the road, or as they are now, they're disconnected physically, we're all in different locations, I can see people's statuses. So I can see at the moment Tash is on Do Not Disturb. So probably because Tash is in this call as well. So because we're in a meeting, it sets it to Do Not Disturb so she can't be interrupted. You can see my status at the top. And I can obviously change that by clicking on it. I can see Jason, who's not in this call, is in a meeting though. He's on a different call. But what's nice, just by hovering their name or their image, I get some more information about that individual. I can see their role in the company. So if you're in a big company, not too sure who Jason is or what he does, I can click on there and I can just view the organizational chart, and it tells me who does Jason report to. Okay, in this instance, it's me, but I can see if Jason wasn't available, I could then speak to maybe someone in his team who would be able to help me out. So if Jason's not around, but I've got a question, I can maybe ask John. And that would be something I could do. And by doing that, just by clicking on John, if I wanted to, I could overhang that and I could click on a video call or an audio call, and it would go and ring John via Teams. I'm not using any phone system for that because he's in our team. It's just going to use like Skype technology to ping him on his laptop or wherever he is today. Again, on his mobile device if he's got data or he's connected to the Wi-Fi. Or if I wanted to, I could message John. There's a normal instant by going, "Hi, John," and ask him a question and hit the send button, and he would get it in his little chat. I'm not going to do that just yet, but that gives you an idea. So very quickly we can see and understand other people in our teams, their presence. I can see James is available at the moment. He's got a green tick. So within the business, I can see if I can contact somebody, and very quickly, one click later, I could be firing up a call with them. Okay, so we've showed you the idea of a team, and I hope that made a little bit of sense. So as well as having this whole team-based chat, we do have individual chats. So if I click on the chat screen, I can see that if I'd had a conversation with Jason, we could have a one-to-one chat and see what's going on. So that's just one-to-one, but we can do one-to-one, or we can also do one-to-many, and we'll demo that in a moment. Okay, let me just go back to where we were in my agenda. So let's actually go in and actually start to create something for you now. So we're going to create a brand new team, and on our teams area, you can see down here, we've got join or create a team. So I'm going to click on that. And first and foremost, you'll notice I can create a team. That's my first option. But also I can see there's a bunch of teams here I can join. And these are teams within my business that are classed as public teams that I'm not a member of. And you can see sometimes they're to do with particular products that we support. So if I needed to join that team, I can ask and just join. But also I can have private teams so people don't see the team. You've got to be invited to be a member. And that's all done when you create the team. So I'm going to build a team from scratch here. You can create it from a group of people that are already part of Office 365. If you group people together, it will automatically add people to a team. But we'll build one from scratch. As I said, you can have a private team, so no one would see it, and you have to invite people. Or I'm going to do this time a public team. I wouldn't recommend an organization-wide. That adds everybody to the team within your business. The only time you probably do that is for maybe announcements that are company-wide. If you add everybody to every team, it's completely pointless. So maybe in this day and age, having an organization-wide team is not a bad idea. We use a slightly different product by Microsoft for that at this moment, which we've used for years, called Yammer. Those are for our company-wide announcements. Teams are for smaller team members or departments to share information. So we'll go with the public team. I'm going to give it a name, and the little scenario we're going to do, if I could spell, there's going to be loads of typos this morning, so I'll still know better. Sorry. Loads of typos there, so I apologize in advance. So we're going to do an expo. We're going to go and do, we're visiting an exhibition, and we're going to be presenting there. So we're going to have a little team around that. I could put a description so people have more information, but for time today, I'm going to create the team. First thing it's going to ask me once it's created is, who do I want to make a member of this team? Now, this is connecting to my Office 365, so it's looking who's in my company right now. So I'm going to add a few of my team members. So I'm going to say Zach. I'm going to ask Zach to join. I'm going to ask a few other people that are on the call. So I'm going to ask Natasha if she wants to join. And you can see as I type, anything that's relevant pops up in the list so I can pick who I want. I'm going to ask Sam to join, and I'll ask Claire as well. So we've got a few people in our team here, and I can add those to the group. Now, as soon as you do that, you've got two types of permission currently within Teams. You can be the owner, or you can be a member. If you are an owner, you obviously get more permissions. You can add more people, you can take people out, you get a few more controls. You're the admin of the group. I always suggest that you have at least 2 owners of your group. So if I'm off ill or whatever reason I'm not around, if somebody needs to add another team member, they're not reliant on one person. So in this instance, I'm going to make Zach an owner as well. But the other people are members, and you can change that. You're not tied to that forever. Once you've set them up, you can go back in if you've got the permissions to do it. And straight away, the team is now created. You'll notice down my column here, I now have the Microsoft Expo team, and automatically it creates me a general channel. I'm going to create a couple of different channels now. Very easy to do. You click on your little menu, ellipsis, or whatever they call it, the little 3 buttons, and you get some options. I can manage my team. That's by adding people, removing people. I can add a channel, as you can see. I can add a member. I can leave the team. We can edit the details. I'll touch on tags if we get time a little bit later, because that's a brand new feature that's only come in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And it's a different way of notifying people that things are happening in the team. But we'll carry on with the demo at this moment. So I'm going to add a channel. And we're just going to create 3 channels today, very quickly. We're going to have one for travel arrangements, because the exhibition is abroad. It's a good job it's not currently, because we wouldn't be going, but we'll, fingers crossed, we'll be able to get on an aeroplane again in the foreseeable future. So we're going to create one channel called travel arrangements. Now, this is again is something that's quite new since probably the turn of the year, that when you used to create a team, if you've been using Teams for a while, then you might not know this, every channel that was in your team, any member of the team could access every channel. Okay, so there was no privacy. If you were in the team, you got to see everything. Now you can start to lock down different channels within your team. So we're going to leave this channel as standard, access to everybody, but I'm going to create a budgetary channel in a minute, and I'm going to make that private and only add a couple of people to it. So this is a standard channel or privacy on it, accessible to everybody in the team. And I'm going to add it. Okay, away it goes. You'll now see travel arrangements. I'm going to go back. I'm going to add 2 more very quickly, just for the purpose of the demo. I'm going to we need to get some marketing and promotional items done. And create a channel for that. I'm going to leave that standard. And just to show you how easy it is to create a private channel, I'm going to create a channel. We're not going to do anything with it for the rest of the demo, but it'll give you an idea. And we're going to call this budget. So I want some numbers in here, and I obviously don't, or potentially don't want all the team to be aware of that. But this could be things like appraisal information within your team, whole HR, whatever it might be. If you need to have a private area, it might just be, you know, part of the project where you don't want someone else to see what's going on. It could be you've invited external people into your team, but there's a certain area, for obvious reasons, you need to keep private from your customers or your suppliers. And so that's where you might have a different privacy setting. And so all I do is go down to private, and then it gives me the ability to choose who is going to be in that channel. So for the budget channel, I'll give Claire access to that as well. So let's make sure can't find me. I'm thinking probably because I'm the owner, but I'll leave Claire in there as well. So suddenly that is locked down a little bit compared to the other channels. And you'll see very quickly and easily that has a little padlock sign next to it to make sure that it is locked down. Okay, great. So let's go into one of our channels now. Let's go into promotional items. Let's say it's the easiest place to start. And what we're going to talk about here is we're going to start a little conversation. So we've added a few people to our team, and I'm going to say that we need to look at getting some work done here. So can we have some thoughts around marketing for this event? So I've started a conversation now, and the guys in the team will see this. They eventually will probably acknowledge it. They might come back with some thoughts. I'm not putting any pressure on them. But what you'll notice is I'm going to take it a step further in a moment, and we're going to start to actually put some things for them to do. And you'll see straight away someone has liked that. So I can over hover and I can see Natasha has given me a like on there. So I'm aware she's read it. So no doubt she's got her thinking hat on and she's coming up with some thoughts for that as well. But with people working remotely, and if you're finding this with your staff over the last few days and the coming weeks, sometimes it's quite a different way for us to either manage teams, for us to work in teams. How do we know what we're meant to be doing? How do we know our teams are doing things? And so Teams is going to help us. One, we can stay in touch instantly. Okay, I can see Zach's replied. He's going to start drafting up some ideas as soon as he can. Great. I'm getting responses back. I can also, though, take it to the next level. So I'm going to say, well, we need to be a bit more organized here. And I told you that Teams would allow you to work with lots of other products that are out on the market and bring it into this hub. And one of the things that, again, Microsoft give you for free, I'm going to only show you stuff that's free today, is a product called Planner. And it's a bit like a cut down budget version of Project. So if you need to set some tasks and some challenges, Planner is going to help you do that. So it gives you, it's like a glorified task list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add Planner to our channel. And we're going to create a new plan for our team to work towards. So we've got some promotional items we said we needed to do. So let's create a new plan. So we'll call it marketing activity. Now this is only appearing in the channel we're in, so it's only relevant, of course, to this this exhibition we're talking about. And it'll go away. It'll spin up my plan. And here we go. Still within Teams, you'll notice, and I can start adding tasks. Now they have a thing called buckets in Planner, and what that is really different areas of what we want people to do, and then we can have lots of different tasks within different areas. So I'm going to just create in our first bucket some tasks, and I'm going to say we're going to get some we'll call this for our graphic design area. Let's add a task, and we need to get some proof work done. So we need to proof the artwork, so I need to have a look at that and make sure we're okay with that. I can set a due date for that. So let's say we want it for next Tuesday. I can assign that to a person who's in the team. So all my team members suddenly are there. So let's set that to, I set myself that one, which is the worst person. I can't even draw a straight line, but I've added that task. And once I go into the task, I can start to add more and more things. So I can either put another task in here, or I can go into the artwork and I can start to add multiple items within that. So on the artwork, we want to proof it. We're going to need to approve the artwork. I need to probably check timescales on that. Let's put a couple of bits and pieces. You get the idea. I could add an attachment here. So if there was a PDF or something, a Word document with some more information for somebody about what they're meant to be doing around this, some concept for what I want for the artwork, I can add it here. I could put some notes, some description, and I can put a priority. You can color code things, everything you'd expect. And I'm going to say show it on the card. So that actually puts it on the little work the little task list we've got on there. So very quickly, I've put a few tasks for myself to do. I'm going to add another couple of little things for people to do. So let's add another task. And we're going to have, let's put it rather as a new bucket. We're going to put some promotional clothing that we need to wear when we're at this show. Okay, and the tasks I'm going to add in there are design hoodies. And in there, I'm going to say that I'm going to maybe assign that to somebody else. Let's assign this to Zach. Okay, and we're going to put Sam in there as well. And we're going to add a couple of items. So can we get proofs of the design? Can we get costings of manufacture or printing, shall I say, and delivery to site? Okay, you get the idea. We can put you can have whatever you want to do on here. You can have as many as you want, and we can set a date. I'm going to set a date for them again, same time next week, and we can set the priority. And very quickly, we have created a couple of tasks in 2 different buckets. We got promotional clothing ones. I left this one as to do, but I could change the name of that. And I can add multiple buckets, multiple tasks. I can actually go in and say, you know what, I've now approved the artwork. I'm sure in a minute Zach will go in and he will say he's got the proof of design done or whatever it might be. We can just put a tick in a little box and we can see things are happening. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this, in the way we're working today, where I've had no physical interaction with my team for over a week, I think having these task lists that we can see as a team what we're trying to achieve in difficult circumstances, in difficult situations, is really useful. And it's really positive for people to know, yeah, I've ticked my 3 things off today I was asked to do. And it's great that we can do that. And we can see, if I want to, I can go into a chart view. So if we've got lots of tasks on there, I can see what's completed, what's not. I'm still in Teams. We could still have a conversation going on. We can see the schedule. Oh yeah, I can see on the 25th, the hoodie design needed to be done, and so on and so forth. So very quickly and easily within the team, we can start to set challenges or tasks for people. And one of the things we've done while we've been working remotely this week, I stuck something up yesterday and asked 2 or 3 of our teams, what have you found useful with the product since you've been working remotely? And a couple of the teams came back and said having Planner. That even though we are, not connected as we were physically, we can now still set ourselves stuff to get done, make sure that we're achieving our goals, and getting that sense of we've done something. Even though the world feels like it's falling around apart, we got something done today. We're still providing a service for our customers. We're still producing stuff, whatever we can do. And they said that they found that really useful. One, to make sure they're still on task. And again, if you are a manager or a leader of a team, it can feel difficult. You don't want to micromanage people, but you also still want to make sure that the stuff we've got to get done is getting done. And so this is a great way that we can make sure we're all on track and we're still getting things done. And you can see how Microsoft's products are completely built into this. So Planner is nothing to do with Teams. It's a free product that they have, but we can just add it quickly into our team. And if I wanted to, I can go back to my my main chat area, as we can see where I started this. Can we have some thoughts? And now the whole team can see that I've put some activity, a planner in there, and they can click on that. We've now got a new tab across the top that says marketing activity, and so they could click on it, which takes us straight back to the plan that we've put together. Excuse me. But what we also can do is, if at the end of the day we want to see how people are getting on with these tasks or have a catch up, very quickly down the bottom I have these little icons. Now we can run through these very, very quickly, but the one I want to talk about is the idea of Meet Now. So you'll see a little video camera. I can't click on that because if I do, it'll drop the call I'm on with you guys. But if I click on it, what would happen? Every member of this team, the 4 or 5 people I added 5 or 10 minutes ago, everyone we added would be invited to a video call, just like we're doing now, or an audio call, whichever your bandwidth can take. And we'd all pop up on the screen together and we can all start talking. So just as I think I showed earlier, I think there was I could click on this and probably see everybody that's in the call. Okay, not everyone's got their video camera on, which is fine because the bandwidth's going to take a hammering, but you can see Zach on there who's helping me out today from home. And all our team would be on there, and we could have that face-to-face interaction so you can see people are acknowledging what you're doing, okay, which is a big part of what we're all trying to do. And people are saying, again, the feedback we're getting, that makes a massive difference when you are actually face-to-face and talking to people. If people are in isolation, if people can't leave the house, this is making a big difference to their day. Every morning at 9:15, 9:30, I have 3 different meetings with my teams. A kickoff for the day. What are we doing? How's everyone doing? Just a general bit of chit chat. That thing you did every single day when you came into the office. What did you get up to last night? Even if it is, I only watch this on Netflix because we're all locked in our houses. that little bit of interaction has been really well received, and we're seeing that on the Teams. People are feeding back about that you still have a bit of time for that coffee machine chat that you used to have when you came into the office. People are missing that. But as well as having that, we then say, okay, what are we doing? What are we achieving? What happened yesterday? What was good? What wasn't so good? And we're then still able to set some objectives, get some feedback, and tailor what we're doing each and every day. And by having the meet now, it takes seconds to do. We've actually created a regular meeting, so we don't do it. But if I wanted a call, very quickly, bang, everyone's screen would start ringing. They can just accept the call, and we'd be on together. Okay, so really, really important. And I'll show you a little bit more about making calls in a few moments. Okay, so we've started our project, we've completed a few tasks, and one of the things I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you when we start a conversation, if we don't just want to have a blank bit of text, I can actually format it by clicking the format button. It allows me to put a little bit more of interest in there, probably a longer channel, a longer message with a bit more information rather than just a very brief sentence or two. This is normally where you would kick off some more, maybe a task or a more important message that we wanted to share with the team. You can also post one conversation or one message in multiple channels. So if I had something I wanted to share with everybody, such as I wanted feedback last night from lots of different teams I'm in of how they're finding working from home, I could type it in here and then post it in multiple channels in multiple teams. So that's a quick way of doing sharing that same information. That was, again, only available over the last few months, but you can format it. I can also attach files, as you'd expect. So if I wanted just to say I've got some artwork, I'll put an idea for people to feedback on. Very quickly, I can then just click on the attach button. It's just going to wait. It's a brand new team. Should have thought about this. By creating a new team, it just takes a while where it gives me an area to store my files. Hopefully this will come back up. If it doesn't, we'll catch up with it a little bit later, but it's going away and just creating a files area. So every time you create a team, in the background on Microsoft servers, it's creating an area for you to store your files. It's creating an area for you to store notes and all the things like that. So it's creating a little SharePoint site, if you've used SharePoint, behind the scenes, and our files will be on there. And when Microsoft have, as you can imagine, having a bit of a busy week when it comes to Microsoft Teams. They had a bit of an issue on Monday where they had a few dropouts. They've ramped up their capacity. They've also downscaled things like the video, so the resolution isn't quite as high at this moment in time because it's the demand on the service is huge. They've also took a couple of other little areas off. I used to be able to see if someone was replying to me. You'd have 3 dots going across. It's stopped doing that now, just to reduce the traffic on the network. So it still looks like it's doing that. So I'll have to give that a few minutes, but I'm going to upload a file in a moment, and we'll come back and look at that when we get the chance. But as you can see across the top, as well as our posts, I have my files area when it's ready. I have marketing activity, and I can add a whole bunch of other stuff that we can add to Teams, all different types of add-ins. So if you already use a planning tool, then you'll find that that it might be on here. So Evernote was a very popular one, which Microsoft bought. That used to be on here. There's loads and loads of people that connect automatically with Teams. So if you're using anything particular, then have a look, and you can add in straight away and take advantage of it. Okay, while we're waiting for that to fire our files up, we're going to go into our travel arrangements, because we've got to get everybody over to where the event is taking place. And so what we're going to do is go to travel arrangements, and we're going to do the famous thing is, where does everybody want to fly from? We're flying to Vienna. So let's put which airport suits people. Okay, not the greatest English or the greatest question, but you'll get my drift. So that would be a question I normally pop up. Now, if I send that via email, I'm going to have about, I don't know, if we're inviting 5 people, I'm going to get 5 different airports. So rather than putting it as a question, we're going to add something else into Teams. I'm going to collect that information in a much easier way. So we talked about these different add-ins. There's one here called Polly. This is free as well, and this is how you can do a poll or collect information. So I'm using it in a very basic format. Please use your imagination for how these things will work with your business. So I'm going to add this little add-in into Teams. Well, Microsoft, don't let me down now. Live demos. We should be good to go in a moment. There we go. So let's create a poll. And what it's going to allow me to do is it's going to just put it in this channel. Okay, so you can see anyone who's in the travel arrangements channel will see this. I can schedule when the poll is going to come out. I can say it's going to close at a period of time. All these things are editable, but the question type is multiple choice. Again, you can have lots of different options, a rating, whether it's open-ended, agree, disagree. But this one's going to be multiple choice. Which airport should we fly from? Okay, and we'll put just 3 choices: Birmingham, I'll add another choice. I'll just put Manchester as well. And very quickly, I can say if I want to allow multiple votes, whether an audience might want to be able to add an additional choice. I'm not going to allow that now. And I'm going to put comments on, and I'm also going to show the results in real time. But you can hold the results and show them after the poll closes, so it might not influence people if you think it was something that would be particularly topical or influential. So we should be good to go now. So we can just preview that. We can also, whether it's non-anonymous, so we don't want people to see who is saying what, but I'm going to leave it as so we can see their names on this, because I want to know who wants to fly from where. And I'm then going to send the poll, so it's going to appear in Teams, and this is what I'm trying to show you, that it's always appearing. Let's get rid of that, and hopefully, if we go back to posts, we can now see in our main chat area that we've got a questionnaire for people. We've got a little what's going on, so I can see very quickly that Manchester is appearing to be the most Birmingham is becoming the most favourable airport to fly from, and without having to deal with 20 different emails, or in this instance 5, with all people saying I want to fly from here, actually it's not good for me to go there. We've collected this information in a completely different way. Now, within your business, you could be doing this for a whole host of data collection amongst your staff, amongst your team. I've done it in a very, very simple way just because of time this morning. But hopefully that shows you can plug these things in no cost at all, and you can use them without having any skills to be a developer or a coder, to get a basic way of collecting information, and it will sit there. And we said you can put a whole bunch of time limits, or make it as complex or as simple as you want. Okay, while we're showing you this, there's one other area of adding things that I want to show. I'm hoping, Zach, can you, as an owner, could you, in the background, Zach's going to add something which takes us to another level, which is called forms. Microsoft have their own little form creation tool. Again, if you've got Office 365, you'll probably find it's in the kit back for you. And it takes what we've just done around just grabbing a poll to the next level. So Zach has got a questionnaire he has done. He should be able to just add a tab at the top, and as an owner, he will be able to do that. And we'll see that pop up in a moment, hopefully. He's going to show you. Now, the difference between something like Poly that we've added in and Forms. Right, so you can see Zach's added that. Again, we're doing all this remotely. So I'm in the office, Zach's at home, and he's added this for me. And if I click on that, he's created a form that is a questionnaire. So we might send this to people that have done a training course, people who sat on a webinar like yourselves, to fill out. And it'll collect a whole bunch of information. So I can put my name in, email address. It's then saying, would you rate the Teams workshop? What was your experience before Teams? Had you heard of it? Do you want to learn anything else? What was the one thing you wanted to learn about? So again, we get feedback for our next session. Do you want to be kept in contact? And we can collect an email address, and you submit that. And what we can start to do with this, because Microsoft are building what they call something called a Power Platform, and you collect this information, and then things can start to happen. So I'm going to give you an example. We fill a questionnaire in like this, or we send a questionnaire out like this, and this is all web-based, so we can send you a URL. If you've logged a support call with us and you are not happy with the outcome, you could fill that form in. So it could be a complaints form that you might have for your business. It goes out via a URL. The customer fills it out online. And if they give it a poor rating, okay, so maybe it was under 3 out of 5, which means that you have a problem, then you can get it to trigger something else to happen. So Microsoft have all these tools, and it used to be called Flow, but it's like a workflow procedure, and it will kick something off. So it says, if we receive a feedback form that is rated 3 or lower, I want you to fire up a new channel in Teams that starts one of those planner tasks that we did that can be on a template that says we have to contact the customer. We have to ask them these 4 questions. Where were the problems? Did we not hit your SLA, or whatever it might be? And it will create that in Teams for you automatically based on the feedback from a client. So if you have a procedure, a complaints procedure at the moment that is manual, that you rely on people to do, occasionally that will fall down. But this could be as clever as soon as somebody fills that questionnaire and hits send on a website, it will kick back in. It'll trigger Teams to actually create a brand new channel in a team that would start a process with Planner that you can have all templated to go through your complaints procedure to make sure your staff are aware of it. And you can have those little timings on there, so someone is alerted, someone is emailed, and of course you as the owner or the team in the team can see all of that taking place as well, so you're aware if there's a problem and you can stay on top of it. So we're starting to automate things by having questionnaires, but it could be a new sales inquiry, a whole bunch of stuff, and it can fire stuff up within Teams as well as a whole bunch of other stuff within the Microsoft platform. But Microsoft, it's called Power Automate now. It used to be called Flow. Has links straight into Teams, so you can do loads of clever stuff. Not going to demo that today because that's not the purpose, but I know some of you have been using Teams for a while. There's some really cool and very, I will say, easy stuff to do if you've got a bit of time. And as horrible as it is at the moment, some of us being stuck at home and might have a bit of time to have a little play with those things that when things get back to normal, we can take advantage of. Okay, so gave you an idea, but that's something Zach's created in Forms. That is really easy to do. If you go into Forms, it is just a design tool, and as long as you know what you want, it takes about 5 minutes to create a form like that, and it does all the stuff. Normally it takes there's a pain in the neck to collect the information in the background. You can push it into spreadsheets, or you can collate all the information that we've done there, and Zach would be able to, you can see this is a fill, but Zach would be able to click on his and he'd have all the responses to the form. So let's go back to our posts. Okay, I'm just going to see if the files area is done. Doesn't look like it, does it? Microsoft must be having a really harsh day today if they can't create one of these quickly. Yeah, it's still set up. I'll leave that. The files area is just like a files repository. So it looks like it's coming. There we go. Yeah, we're getting there eventually. Well done, Microsoft. So it normally takes a few seconds. So what I was going to do is I was going to upload a file to our conversation that's going on in Teams. So as soon as I click on the little attach button, you can see all the usual stuff I can upload from my computer. I can browse some files that might already be in my team and my channel. I could go to OneDrive, which is obviously Microsoft's storage space that you get. Or I can even look at recent files that I've had. I'm just going to upload from my computer, and I've put some stuff on my desktop, Teams demo. Oops. And I'm going to upload an image of the stand that we were hoping to take to the exhibition. So I'm just going to put any feedback on the stand. Let me know. And I'm going to send that. So you can see straight away the image has gone up there. So everyone again can see it, and I can then wait and see what people, whether they like it, whether they hate it. And again, you can click on that and zoom in, get the full picture of it that we mocked up of what we were going to have if we were going to exhibit at the event we were going to. And while we wait for people to start having a bit of response to that, if I go to the files area, as we said earlier, you'll start to see, I can see the file has now appeared. I could download a copy of that. If you are using other things apart from Microsoft tools, you can add cloud storage, so it will connect to Dropbox, Google Drive, as well as SharePoint and everything along those lines. So very quickly, you can link to your existing data storage if that's the case. You can get a link to somebody. You can upload files directly from here if you want to do it a little bit quicker. Or you can open in SharePoint if you use it, because this is a SharePoint site. Again, not really relevant for today, but you can do that. Now, what you'll notice is a few people, Sam and Zach, have been responding to that. Got a nice little love heart in there as well, which is still good. What happens, which we haven't really mentioned so far, is if I'm in lots of teams and I'm away, Tash has also done that. You'll notice that Tash has actually name checked me. So she's put, I like it, Liam Walton. Now, if I'm in another team or I'm away from my my screen at this moment, when I come back, I have the little activity alerter up here. And as soon as I click on that activity, I can see what's going on. And I can see right here that Tash has said, I like it. So I can jump straight into whatever's going on. I can see Zach's been replying to stuff. So if I'm in lots of teams or I'm away from the office, very quick, I can see what's going on. I can have a quick overview. What do I need to get involved with right away? Is somebody asking me a question? It's great that Tash has liked it. It's great that Zach's liked it, but I haven't got to do anything about that. I might need to process the project on, but I haven't got to respond to it. But if it was someone saying, you know, can you give me a call, Liam? Can we speak about something? That would probably come straight to my top of my list. So that's our activity. So it allows us to jump back in and see exactly what's going on, and we can see when people react to things and when people reply to things. And it's quite quick and easy to do. And I can filter that as well. So if I want to, I can filter by searching, on a particular phrase. I can filter on whether it's I've not read something, whether I've been mentioned, whether someone has replied to me. As you can see, whether it's a missed call, any activity that takes place in Teams, I can filter down to that level. Or I could just type a word in that I'm trying to find, knowing that's been mentioned somewhere in the chat. Okay. So hopefully we'll touch a little bit more on search, but search is so strong in this, it's unreal. It's really cool. Okay, so that's the idea of our activity feed, that it's nice to know what's going on. So we've added some artwork, and you can imagine that could be a Word document. If we want to collaborate on multiple things together, we can. And I think this is one of the strongest things I'm going to show you today within Teams, especially in the coming weeks. If we do have to stay apart, working on something, we often gather around someone's laptop, don't we? We book out a meeting room or a huddle room, and we get together and we get something sorted within half an hour, and that's going to be challenging. So with Teams, we can still have this face-to-face conversation. I could unmute you all now, and we could have a good old conversation. But we can also work on different documents or different files. So I'm going to jump into a different team. I'm going to go into our marketing team. And we had an area called New Business Activity. And what we had is we'd uploaded, I hope, a PowerPoint presentation. Here you go, which we put in about 2 weeks ago. And I'm going to open that PowerPoint up. So on my screen in a moment, you should be able to see the PowerPoint, hopefully. The demo gods have been kind so far. Let's hope they carry on. We'll give it a bit of time because it is quite a big PowerPoint. It's got video in. I probably should have loaded it a little bit earlier. But what can happen here, let's just see, rather than a PowerPoint, maybe I'm better off being a little bit more realistic and putting a Word document up. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Good. Okay, it's quite a big PowerPoint, which is probably what's killed me. But what we have here, I can go down. We all know what PowerPoint does, and you can see I'm still within Teams here. I could go into the desktop version, and it would still work exactly the same, but it would take me out of Teams for a moment. Now we can see that other people are working on this document. So I can see here Mo is also editing the document. And I can see that he's working on slide 11. Okay, so if I slide down to slide 11, I can actually see that Mo is there. And if we wanted to, I could jump into slide 11 at the same time. And if we wanted to be moving maybe some of these logos, I can see that Mo has just deleted a logo and moved another one in. Carver's has come in. And while he's doing that, I could also be moving stuff around. I dread touching people's decks because they'll never forgive me. But yeah, you can see we can work on this together, and we could also be having a conversation down the side that would then be persistent in Teams. It would stay there as a record of me saying, Mo, could you move the Carver's logo? And he's done that. But there'd be a reason for him to do it, and there'd be a record that he'd done it. You know, again, we can like all of those things, and we can have multiple people working on this document at any one time. And I said I could be doing exactly the same, moving things around, putting new text in, whatever we want. And it's very quick and easy for us to do that. And that would work on Word, Excel. It says someone else is joining the party by the look of it. Zach's also come in. He's editing slide 3. So I'm gone to slide 3 now, and we can see Zach's going to change good morning to good evening. And he's put the exclamation mark. Well, I don't like the exclamation mark, so I'm going to get rid of that. I've actually took the whole slide out there. Sorry, Zach. Okay, but We can take that back if I undo it, I'm sure. But you can see, there we go, we're back. We are working on a PowerPoint, even though we are in 3 remote locations, while there's 50 odd, 60 odd people watching us doing it. I could invite you guys to do this because you're all in the same meeting as well. If you've got permission for this file, we could all start working on it. Okay, so it's very, very powerful what we're doing. So if you imagine, rather than just me talking, I had my 2 colleagues giving me feedback as well. We were talking, yeah, we've gone from orange to blue. Is that better? Whatever it is that you're working on, we can do it all together, and we're all remotely. And I have not left my Teams hub. It's incredibly powerful. And as I said, working on your own, as we're all finding now, it's not as much fun as we thought it would all be. And it's nice to have that interaction. It's nice to have other people's ideas to bounce off. And this gives you a great tool. And most of you have got it. And that's what we wanted to do today. Okay, so that idea of using, of being able to collaborate, play with it, and see what you can do. Thanks, guys, for dropping in and doing that. I'm going to close the deck down now, and we'll go back to our team that we have been working on. So the other thing I wanted to show you, if we just go back to, I'm just checking my time, I'm okay. Travel arrangements we were in. We talked about if we've got other people maybe coming to the, we need to get people to the event. We've got an airport, we're getting some airports booked now. I'm going to add one other thing in, and I keep saying there's so much stuff in here, but I could add, it's not on here, typical. Wikipedia seems to be, I can add a Wikipedia link, which I can't seem to see on here, so maybe it's not available anymore. And what we could do is you could put that in, or put something like the weather in. So if I want to say, what's the weather like in Vienna, where the conference is, if I do that, the guys know when they're flying out, they've now got a bit of information around what the weather's going to be like when they get there, and they'll know what type of stuff to pack. If we wanted a restaurant, for example, to go and eat at one of the evenings, or take customers to, if we're going out somewhere, we could maybe put the URL of that in, or maybe a review site saying where the good restaurants are in Vienna. So we've all got a bit of information before we get there. And it's that idea of sharing stuff and being inclusive and letting everybody have a bit of feedback. It's all available to us. And I said, taking us 2 seconds to do that. Oh, it is on here, the wiki thing. It must have already been added. So hence it wasn't available. So I could put Vienna. So again, as part of the conversation, I can say, and if you think about this, you can use Wikipedia for anything. So please don't think we're being trivial with what we're doing here. You can do this for anything, whether it's, information about the business, a product, background. So we can put, if you've got a spare afternoon, here's some stuff you might want to learn about Vienna. And if someone clicks through on that, they'll go to the Wikipedia page. So it's this idea of sharing information that is the way we are seeing businesses go and working. And you can link this to loads of other stuff. So we've used some major ones just to give you an idea, but you get a general gist of what we are doing. Okay, and to give you an idea, one more idea of that, I will go back to the sales team. Most of you are Dynamics users, so this is relevant. If I go back up to my sales team, let's just shut those down. We have linked in our general one, we have a link to our CRM system. So again, within Teams, I can see opportunities that have either been won or lost, and I could click through and we could then see information about them. I'm obviously not going to go through too much, but I'm not having to leave Teams to get that information. I'm no longer jumping around from application to application. We've linked it directly into D365. It's not difficult. You need your URL, you need your credentials, and you can have that plugin. There'll be a, if you go to the apps area, there will be a Dynamics 365 link into Teams. So you're starting to pull the information through. It won't save you on licensing, I'm afraid. You still have to have a license for each user, but it allows you to not jump around, or to access that. You might have a dashboard from Power BI. You want to display that in the team, because that's important to see what we've achieved, what we've done, whatever the KPI is on the dashboard. That can be put straight into Teams as well. We talked about searching earlier. So one of the other things that you can do with search is clever. So I'm going to search for, I know I've had a conversation somewhere across, this is going across all my teams, by the way, not just the team I'm in. So I'm going to search for one of my customers called Carvers, great customer. And I can see all the responses then that have the word Carvers down the side. Now that's in just messages, you'll notice. So those are any instant messages I've had with anybody in the business who've mentioned the word Carvers. I'm actually looking for a file, so I'm going to click on Files. And what I can see is I've still got a lot. So I'm going to want to maybe filter that a little bit. And so I'm going to say I want to narrow it down to the team that I know the file was stored in, if I knew there was all my teams. Actually, what I know is that it was a Word document. So I'm going to say I'm looking for a Word document. If I knew the name, I could narrow it down even more, but I just know it was a Word document. Can't remember what it was called. But very quickly, that really has narrowed my search down. And the one I'm after was a proposal for an e-commerce solution. There it is. And I can then pull it up again, the document, although it's not formatted perfectly, while it's showing me in Teams. I can see the proposal. I can see the conversation that took place within Teams, that we discussed the proposal in the June sales meeting, and I'd shared it with someone to have a look at. So again, if you're trying to find information stored within Teams, there's the proposal, there's the conversation that was around it. I found it within seconds, and the filtering is unreal. Okay, I can also search for people, because we're talking about people being obviously a massive part of our business. So we saw Zach earlier. So if I wanted to search on Zach again, there's no file. There are some files which obviously Zach's been involved in. But if I click on people, if we've got multiple people, maybe with a less unusual name than Zach, we might have multiple people with Mark or David or something like that, but we can then find someone I'm looking for straight away. I can click on Zach, and then I can start the conversation with him. I could go through messages with him, etc., etc. Okay, if you're using Teams already, one of the things you may not be aware of, if I want to go into a team that you're in and look at the information, so we're here looking at the promotional items, and I want to speak to Zach about something, but still keep that focus on my screen, I can do an @ sign, and I can go @Zach. And there he is. So I can click on Zach, and I can type a message. So I can put, "Hi, Zach. Oops. Have you seen the latest updates?" Forgive my spelling. I'm not going to correct everything. Now, you might think, well, why don't I just put this in the conversation? Well, I don't know, maybe Zach's put something in there that I'm not overly happy about, or I don't quite like, and I want to speak to him, but I don't want to put that on the team where everyone can see me saying, you know what, Zach, I really don't like that. So I'm going to do a private message here while I've still got it on the screen so I can refer to it. Have you seen the latest updates? Would you make a change? It's a small change. It doesn't make a problem. I wouldn't normally have a problem with putting that on the team, but you get my drift. And I can do this with just going one-to-one chat with Zach. And I've not left, it's now saying my message to Zach, but I've not left what I'm looking at. So that might be a Word document, it might be a spreadsheet. In this instance, it's just the team thread. But when Zach gets that, he'll be able to respond, and I can then go into the chat to see what's going on. But again, it's this idea of keeping our focus on what's going. And if you're using Teams, a lot of people aren't aware that you can do direct, just put the @ sign in and away you go. So that's really good. If you did want to name check somebody in the conversation thread, you do exactly the same. @Zach, whoops. Oh, there again. If I just put @Zach Bird, there we go. You make a change, please. That goes in the thread so everyone can see it, but also Zach is mentioned, and so he will get an alert in his activity saying that Liam has mentioned him. And I can see, no doubt, that Zach is replying to me in my chat because it's gone up. Yeah, we've just seen it. We'll make the relevant change. Okay, so nice and very easy for us to stay in touch. So I hope that's given you a brief idea of how we work with that. I've got one other thing to show that's really cool. If we are going to have a chat about going abroad, and we have a colleague that works in a different location, different region, how do we get around the language barrier? Well, let's go back and add, let's go, where are we going? Let's go back to our marketing promotions. So I'm going to come in, and I don't speak languages, I'm afraid. It's not something I paid too much attention to 30 odd years ago. But what I could do, if I had it will come through as me, obviously, but I'm going to post a comment in German. So I have a colleague that is German, and they have posted something in here. I've come in, I've no idea what they're asking me about this. So what is cool about Teams is I can click on the little option here, and you can see I've got a whole bunch of different stuff, but I can now translate. And it suddenly translates it for me and tells me that will the brochures for the show be delivered? Okay, so that we know this show is over in Vienna, and are we taking them with us on the plane, or are they going to be delivered? So, okay, now it makes sense. Now I know what they're after, and I can reply, they will be shipped direct. Now, they can then translate that back into their native language as well. It'll always translate into the language that you have got your system set up in. So I can't show you going back into German here, but it will definitely flick back. If I want to translate it back into its original and the one it was in, it will go back. Okay, see original message. And it does that. I won't say it does it in every language, but in the major languages that we are communicating in, it all works really, really well and easily. So that's a really strong point. If you are working with remote teams, you're working with foreign teams or not native English speaking people, it is not a problem. It will translate for you. Okay, so that's quite nice. Okay, so we're going to have, I'm going to jump out of this for a moment. I'm going to come back now. We're going to talk for the next 10 minutes before we finish this around video calls and recording video calls and then searching on your video. Okay, which is a major breakthrough. So very quick, I'm going to jump back into PowerPoint. So when people are on audio conference calls, and if you're currently working remotely and that's what you're doing at the moment, you can have a real problem. The stats last year that 60% of people are doing other stuff while you're on an audio call. So they're not focusing on what you're talking about. They're doing email, they're doing a PowerPoint for tomorrow, whatever it might be. 20% of people are doing online shopping, 50% are eating during the call, 25% dozed off, and 50% have gone to the loo and they've taken their phone with them. Okay, so that's what people do when they did a survey of what happens on just audio calls, because there's just no accountability really until somebody calls you out and says, what do you think about that, Liam? And then you realize you've not been paying attention. So with Teams, we get this ability to go face to face. You, of course, need to have some video capacity on your laptop, whether it's built in or whether you've got a desktop and you need to buy a little webcam. Webcams are what, a few quid these days, and USB, plug them in and away they go. And suddenly it makes a massive difference. So what does that bring to our calls? Well, first of all, we can do video calls one-to-one. So I can, within Teams, just call Zach, call Claire, call Tat, anybody I want who's in my company. They're part of my Active Directory, my team. Anyone within the company, I can do an audio call or a video call like we do on Skype. It's using the Skype technology behind in the background. Or I can do a one-to-many like I'm doing today. I'm presenting, but we could unmute you and we could have a big old chat about everything. There are challenges when you get to certain numbers, so there need to be some rules. We can share content as I'm doing today. I'm sharing a PowerPoint with you. I'm sharing my desktop. Microsoft have a great tool, we won't demo it today, called Whiteboard, which means if you've got touch screens like tablets, you can start drawing on the whiteboard together, even though you're all in different places, as you would do on a whiteboard in a meeting room with a marker pen. We have that ability now, and it saves it all in the background. Everything today we've done with PowerPoint, when we were all editing it, it's saving it in the background to one version. We haven't got 6 different versions flying around, and you're never too sure which is the latest one. Teams centralizes all of those things. And with a video call, we can record it. And this is what I'm going to show you now. Because once you've recorded it, and we're recording this right now, the call that we're on, we can share it, but also we can search on it, and that is huge. Okay, so let's jump back into Teams, and I'm going to show you what we mean. So I can't actually start another video call because it would drop the call I'm on with everybody at this moment in time, but I can show you how it works. So first and foremost, we can go to our call section, and you'll see I have loads of people who are in my organization. And I can just Skype them. I can see their presence, who's green and available, who's red, who's on a call. And if I'm trying to find someone, I already showed you how I could just search for somebody. We can create groups. I can have people on speed dial. I can have favorites. I can have my teams already. Sales are here and marketing, and I can go through. We've actually connected our phone system. Well, we use the Teams phone system. So you do have to add this. There is additional cost if you want to go onto your phone system. But I can now just make a phone call, and it would phone my mobile, it would phone home, whatever, just a normal phone call, like you do on Skype if you pay the extras for it. And you can see that I have my own number on here. If we wanted to, we can have a history of what calls I've made. As you can imagine, that's gone crazy over the last few days. I made these calls actually while I was driving into the office this morning on my mobile, and we use the Teams client on our mobile for making calls. So it's using my data, yes, but I'm still using Teams on the Teams client to make my video or my audio calls on my mobile device, on my iPhone. Okay, but if I wanted to, if that person wasn't on Teams for whatever reason, it would reroute through to their mobile phone if I have that information stored. I also have voicemail, and this is something I want to show you. So if you do tie it into your phone system, If I miss a phone call, I get a voicemail. You think, okay, nothing clever about that. But what it will do, if I'm in a meeting and I've noticed that I've missed a phone call, the last thing I can do, because it's pretty rude, is to play the voicemail message while I'm in a meeting. But I might want to see if it's important, and I can quite happily here click on it, and it'll actually translate it as well as it can. So it says, my name is Nick. I just forwarded you an email that I got from the mail, blah blah blah, confirming they're okay to push something forward. So Nick's left me a message saying a customer is going to push forward with a project. Great news. Okay, and they're just waiting for the final sign off. So I can get that without listening to the voicemail, but it's given me enough of the translation to understand what's going on. So if it was something I needed to do, I might need to leave the meeting because it was important, or I can ignore it and get back to it whenever we've finished. So the voicemail stuff is very neat. I could play it back as well, obviously, and away we go. So if you do tie it into your phone system, it is incredibly powerful. It's the only way we communicate now. We have one unified communication system, which is Teams. If a phone call comes into the business, I can pick it up from Teams. I can send it across to another member of the team. I can do it on my laptop. I can have a headset. I can have a handset as normal. Whatever you want, it'll work. That's neat. If we go back to our standard idea of video calls, though, if I wanted to make a phone call with any of these guys, I can just click on the little video button. As we said, I can't do that because it would drop off. But alternatively, we can arrange meetings. So I can go to my calendar. As we can see here, we've got this meeting in today. I've got a daily catch up. And every morning we have the daily sales kickoff, marketing kickoff, and I normally have a director's one as well, which we've moved out because we've got the webinar in there. But again, you'll notice I can meet now. So anyone in my team, I can just have a meeting, or I can start a private meeting. I can arrange a meeting. I can schedule a meeting. Microsoft just updated this a bit, so they've got some new extra stuff. We can have how frequently it repeats. I can add it to a channel so it appears in everyone's Teams channel so they never forget this meeting is happening regularly. And you've got your scheduling assistant like you do in Outlook. And if you still got Outlook, that's fine. You can go into your calendar. You can create an event or a diary entry, and you just notice across the top you've got Add Teams Meeting, and it just adds the link with everyone then can click on, like you've done this morning, to join the meeting. Now, when the meeting starts, you can click on the record button. That's what Zach's done today. And you notice probably across everybody's screen, it will tell you that it is recording. So there's no secrecy about that. But what's really neat is when it's finished recording, this is where it really gets fun, you can start to do some really clever stuff. So as well, in your Office 365 subscription, you have another tool you've probably never used called Stream. It's a bit like a YouTube for your company. So it's areas to store video. So I'm just going to click on that and drop into it. And what happens whenever you record a meeting on Teams, it's recording the audio, it's recording the video, it's recording any desktop that's been shared, and it automatically shares it in Stream. And if I go to my content, for example, I can see any videos that I've uploaded. So we've been doing a few, there's been meetings that have been going on, which I've recorded, as you'd expect. So there's loads of stuff on there. But where it gets really, really powerful is when I want to search. Now, if I know we had a meeting about, I don't know, sponsorship when we were doing an event, if I can spell, oops, I can search for that. And unsurprisingly, it finds a video that is called Update Around Sponsorship Options. And you think, well, yeah, that's obvious. It's found the name of the video. And that's right. But what it's also done is it said, well, 5 seconds into this video, the word sponsorship is spoken. Now, I hope the video is going to be okay on this. I'm going to click through onto this for you. I'm going to shut up because the audio should come through. But pay attention to the right-hand side of the screen because the video, even though we haven't done anything, has transcripted itself so it can be searched. So it's listened to the audio, it's put it into text, doesn't get it 100% right, but it's pretty damn close. Okay, and if I click on that.
Morning, everybody. I'm just really updating everyone around the sponsorship options that we have for the event we're going to. I've just been doing a bit of research, and we have 4 different sponsorships.
So I'm just going to stop there. Zach, did the audio come through? Could you hear the video? Great. Okay, so this is a video I recorded over a year ago. well, what, 6-7 months ago. But what did it, I've recorded it and it then transcribed it. And as you can see, it picked up when we searched for sponsorship, the word sponsorship that I said after 5 seconds of this video. Now, does it get it all right? Well, not quite. I've been doing a bit of research and we have 4 different bondships rather than sponsorships. But I can actually go in if I want to and edit the transcript as well. So where it doesn't get it quite right, I can correct it. But through the rest of it, it is pretty spot on. We've got the ability to have a bronze package, a silver package, there's 2 gold packages, price range from €5,000. It goes through, and in the last 6 months, it's improved even more, and that's with a black country accent, and I do speak pretty quick. It gets it done really, really well. And so this is always happening automatically. It takes a little while. So, you know, if it's a long video, it could take an hour or so to transcribe it and upload it, but we're not talking silly stuff. And suddenly think the power of this, that every meeting that you're recording, if they're important meetings, I wouldn't say record everything, but suddenly you can go back when someone said to you, yeah, I'll do that, and then it never ever happens. You can search that video and say somewhere someone mentioned that, and it'll take you straight to it. It's really, really strong. And as I said, we've been working quite a lot with this recently. I've done a couple of meetings with customers and we've demoed this, and this is huge in terms of what you can suddenly start to search on. So search on video is really, really powerful. So I'm just trying to work out where I'm at, and if there's anything else I can show you on there. Yeah, we can also add those videos back into Teams. So if we went back into Team, unsurprisingly, we have the ability to, if I go into a team, to add a stream. There it is. And I could then put a video in, so I could copy and paste that link and the video would then appear. So if it was a meeting, if you actually record a meeting within a channel, so if we scheduled a meeting for this channel or this team, the video would actually appear if we told it to record it in the channel, so you could go back and refer to it later anyway. The other great thing with recording them and having them in the teams in your channel is if you can't be on the meeting or you've had to drop out halfway through because you've got something else to do, if you need to catch up on it, come back a little bit later and you can watch it. And my favorite is you can have it at double speed, so you can choose the speed you're watching these things. So if you want to go through it a little bit quicker, you can change the settings somewhere to play it at two times the speed, so you can get through all the boring stuff. So it sounds like like you're talking a little bit weird, like you're on helium, but it blitzes through the meeting a little bit quicker. So I find the recording of meetings really, really powerful. And I just want to show you one meeting. Probably the last serious thing I'll show you now is how multiple people on calls work as well. We showed you as part of the scenario a stand we were designing and we were going to put together. We did that and we then did a call, which I had a laptop. I'm just going to zoom through. You can trim your videos, by the way. So if you've got a load of bump at the beginning before it starts, you can edit them down. But what you'll see is halfway through this, I'll just explain what happens. I'm going to be on a mobile device on Teams. Okay, so I'm on a Teams meeting on my mobile. You don't have to be on your laptop. I've joined many Teams meetings in a car, in a McDonald's, on some Wi-Fi at home now. And then I asked 2 of the colleagues, Jason and Zach, to join me while we review the stand. And I can obviously turn my mobile phone round and actually show them the stand. And you can see it's being transcribed. Okay, so you can see on the planning on Teams, it'd be nice to show you what it actually looks like. Let's see if I can rotate my camera here. So let's play it. Let's drop back a little bit.
Hi guys, can you hear me? We're going to review the stand that we've now put in. Hi Zach, just going to review the stand imagery that's now come through. So we've obviously done all the planning on the Teams. It's going to be nice to show you all what it actually looks like. Just going to see if I can rotate my camera. There we go. This is the actual thing. So backlit matches all the graphics that we had on the team site. So all the planning, everything we've done, obviously all approved. Budget was up there. I think it looks pretty good. What do you reckon?
Very good. Yeah, that looks not smart.
The backlit lighting all works, all LEDs.
Okay, so you get the general gist, and that's having multiple people in a call. 2 people on laptops and 1 on a mobile device, and I'd kick the original meeting off, which is why it's looking through the window on my laptop before I wandered down to where the stand had appeared. But the way it's transcribed, the way you're getting that feedback, and it's recorded, it's there if we need to refer to it. It's not perfect, but it does really well at 9 times out of 10 of getting what you want. So it's something I think is really, really strong. So that gives you an idea of how you can continue to communicate. We are really living in weird times, and I hope it doesn't last too long for lots of different reasons. I think we're all feeling like that. But while we're here, we can do something. We have found with the feedback we've had from our teams that actually the day-to-day kickoff is massive in their day now. They're remote. They love it. And we have a wrap-up at the end of the day as well. We're starting to build these in. We can communicate regularly, easily. People still need to set themselves to do not disturb. If they're going to grab their lunch, they need to have that. But when they're in the office, it's nice to have a little bit of a chat and to do that. We've started to see channels pop up in certain teams with a bit of banter in them. Show me your setup today. So people are showing where they're working. What's the view from the window? Just a little bit of stuff that you'd probably normally mess around with at work and have a 5-minute chat. That's now taking place in its own channel within teams. And I think that's vital to keep some level of normality with what's going on. We do, as an organisation, offer help with this. So I hope we've given you loads of stuff to play around with and to think about. We have a transition to Teams, which is about a 2 or 3 day, I won't call it a workshop. Part of it's a workshop with the teams that you want to work with, but then it's working with champions in your business to make teams take off. Okay, and it's between 2 and 3 days. That's it. And I'll come in, sit down, we do some of the stuff we've done this morning very quickly, and then we build what's important to your team, what are your challenges your teams have, and how can Teams itself benefit you? Is that quick communication, lower overhead on email, better feedback to your customers? All of those things, we work out how teams can do it. And I said that's only 2 to 3 days, and then we'll get it embedded. We fire it up normally within one team, one department, and then we spread it out around the rest of the business.